Welcome to my Hebrew channel. We're continuing our study in the second chapter of Ruth. We're up to verses 13 and 14. This is still a continuation of the dialogue between Boaz and Ruth. It's been a very interesting dialogue, and it stays interesting. It's got lots of small details in it. It's one of those cases where the small details do round out the whole story. Some very interesting expressions on her part as to speaking to the heart, and also sharing food. And it's true of all cultures of the world that when you share food, you are building interpersonal relationships. And so it's a beautiful passage, and we'll get into it. And we're going to look at it first in English. And she says, and this is Ruth, "Let me find mercy in your eyes," or "I have found mercy in your eyes." Ematzah. This is a petition or also declaration. It can be the same thing. Ematzah, ken is a very short expression of mercy or grace or favor. Let me find mercy in your eyes, in what you're looking at, my Lord. Adoni. This one is Adoni, my Lord, because you have comforted me. And stick around for the Hebrew for this one, and it is the Nacham. Okay? It's the word that is also used for Nehemiah. Jehovah comforts. Well, here you have Necham. It's a Noah-based root. Okay, this is something that happens in Hebrew where you comfort you. The word Noah is, of course, the man of comfort, and then it even gives us connection then to Psalm 23, because the Nun Chet sequence is found 3 times in Psalm 23. So it is to comfort. You have comforted me, and because you have spoken to the heart, speaking to the heart, very much, speaking very closely, very directly, speaking at a very good emotional level. It isn't just hypocrisy. It isn't just something that is meaningless, but something that actually focuses very much on the personal feeling of the other person. So when you speak to the heart, you're speaking to what's on the inside, what's there in reality. So you've spoken to the heart of your maidservant, and we're going to take a look. Stick around for the Greek or for the Hebrew. We're going to take a look at how this word functions in relationship to the next one, maidservants. This one's singular, that one's plural. And also going back to the first couple of verses of the chapter, there's also a relationship there. It's people who are working together. And we've seen Shaphat of Elimelech, and here this is the person that's the person who works, the heart of your working person, the working maidservant there. I'm not. It's very interesting. I am. Very same. Same very first person singular of to be. Very same one in as we find in Exodus 3 when the Lord declares himself Ehyeh. But it's very clearly here. She says, "I'm not that." Okay, I'm not an Ehyeh. I'm not one of yours. I'm not one of your maidservants. I'm a stranger. For you to talk to me this way is very, very, very noticeable. It's very interesting. So I'm not one of your maidservants. Okay, this is singular, plural. We'll take a look at the difference. Stick around for the Hebrew to look at the difference here of this word with this word. Just one consonant. So not yeah. And Boaz said to her, at mealtime, at the time of the food, ahal, come near here, over here. I think we're still talking about the house where all the kali, that's where all the jars of water are, and it's where the other reapers are going to be sitting there for the lunch break, and a lot of things happening. So what we've seen here, up to now, the dialogue's just been Boaz, Ruth. So now suddenly, oh my, a whole bunch of reapers, a whole bunch of other people sitting there, talking together, resting up from their work, catching up on water and catching up on food. And so very much, yeah, almost like a formal introduction of Boaz. When Boaz does this, everybody starts talking. They go, "Oh, Boaz is doing something very interesting here." And so, yeah, lots of talk and lots of gossip went back to the village after this particular uh, meeting or sharing of the food. And as I said in the introduction, in almost all countries of the world, all cultures of the world, sharing food is a way to build relationships. So that's what's happening here. Come here, share the food. You can eat of the bread, lechem. Interesting that he's offering lechem, because the lack of lechem is what has bread, is what has sent the people off to Moab. But now the presence of the bread is what's brought them back. So, okay, you can eat of the bread. We have some bread here, okay? We're not totally run out of bread. Even though the harvest hasn't been finished, maybe they've already been processing some of the grain and converting it all into bread right away. But you could eat of the bread, dip your morsel, your little portion, pitah. It's interesting when I see the word pitah, it means morsel, but to me in the Middle East, when you say pitah, that's the pita bread. So I really don't know what the connection is there, but the piece of bread, the morsel, in the yeast sauce. Now, almost all translations put vinegar, but this is the hamotz, the yeast that's, and this very clearly shows that this particular little party did not take place during Pesach. During Pesach, during the Passover, the yeast is totally prohibited. Out of here, clear it out, wash it out, get out, clean everything up as best as you can, and make sure there's none of that yeast around. But here we're looking at a few weeks after the Pesach, and yeast is okay. It's the kind of thing that gives flavor to the bread and to what you're eating and so forth. And it's a somewhat, how you say, similar to zest of life. In other words, whoa, this gives pep. This gives things are interesting when you got yeast. Okay, it's when you have like I say, zest of life here, lively things. Okay, the yeast sauce. Then she sat by the side, Yashet. This one's the root here for would be Yod Shin Bet, but can also mean to return. Okay, to return from the side of the reapers. Okay, Shad here. Shad. It's the side. It's interesting because it has a little bit of a linguistic relationship with Shaddai, powerful God, because Shad is symbolic of when a person, like this was a case with Esau. Esau was known as a hunter. Esau was known as a Shad. He would sit beside the road and wait for prey or something like that, and nab whatever animal he was hunting. So sitting by the side can also be used in a sense of hunting. But she sat then by the side of the kotzrim. We've seen kotzrim quite a bit, reapers, workers, so all of the people were there. This most probably was a mix of the Naharim, the young men, and the Naharot, that is the young women. If you're going to have a grouping of workers that include men and female, you're going to use the masculine sense of it, the reapers, kotzrim. And then he, that is Boaz, reaches over, brings over roasted grain, kali, and she eats, okay, and she's satisfied. That's plenty enough food. There's even some left over, okay. Now, this is a kind of interesting little detail here, because in a time of famine, there wouldn't be anything left over. I mean, if you eat, and I've been in Africa at potlucks, when you have a good potluck over there, and the eating has started, there's just absolutely nothing left afterwards. It's a very great contrast in having potlucks in the United States or Canada, and usually in those kind of gatherings, there's something left over, but not in Africa. When there's a food stress on a society or on a culture, nothing gets left over. But here, there's some left over. That means she either ate just a very little bit, or she did eat. It says right here, it's satisfied. She did eat enough, and then she had some left over, and she apparently kept that for sharing with Naomi later on. So yeah, so it's a very interesting little story here. Boaz said to her at mealtime, at ha'ochan, come near here, and you can eat of the bread. Dip your morsel in the yeast sauce. And she sat by the side of the reapers, hands over roasted grain, and she eats and satisfied, and there's some left over. And here she's saying, why have I found favor? I have found favor. Or it's both a statement and a question. Okay, so ematzah, I have found favor. Okay, I'm finding favor. Again, favor, mercy, favor, mercy, grace. Just a very nice little word here. Chen, the chetnun. Okay, I have found favor. Ki nichamtani, okay, nichamtani, because you have comforted me. Okay, you have comforted me. Like I said, this is a Noah word here. Yeah, verb. Nun chet is noach. Okay, noach right here. Nun chet. You add a mem to it. Nicham means comfort, and very same root word used to make Nehemiah. Jehovah comforts. Okay, that's what Nehemiah means. And then here you have nichamtani. You have comforted me. You are comforting me. Okay, you have you're bringing noach to me. You're bringing comfort to me. Nichamtani. Ki dibarta alev, because you have spoken. Alev, to the heart. You've been sincere. You've been direct. It isn't just moving from side to side and stuff. You've spoken directly to the heart. You're speaking something that can be felt, that can be understood on an emotional level. Incidentally, if you're a young person and want to establish a good relationship with a guy wanting to have a good relationship with a young gal, speak to the heart, and vice versa as well. In other words, don't just play verbal games, but speak directly, honestly to the heart. Okay. When you read it here, it sometimes looks a little bit like an idiomatic expression, but it does contain a lot of reality in life. If you're going to be working with people, go directly to the heart of the matter. Go and don't just scatter around the edges of what's happening, but just say, okay, what's really happening here? What are you really feeling? What are you really thinking about? What's your plan in life? What are you looking for? And so go directly to the heart of the matter. So that's I think we even hear that. It's kind of an idiomatic expression. Probably derives from this. Go to the heart of the matter. Okay? Go directly to what's very meaningful in the heart and in the life of the other person. Your servant, sifachtecha, because you're of the heart of your servant, you've spoken to the heart of your servant, sifachtecha, and shifat. Incidentally, we're seeing this, the connections. If you're going to look back, and servant here is somebody who serves, and this is very much a word that's well known for that. But it's also connected to the clan. In other words, and we've seen this root, Shin Pe Chet, at the start of chapter 2, and that was the Shifat of Elimelech. Okay, Elimelech's working group, Elimelech's clan, the people who are cooperating together in that grouping, and Boaz was a part of that. And here now we again see the same root, and we see it twice. We see it here and we see it over here. A little bit different. We're going to compare these two eventually when we get over here. Shivatech, okay, your servant of you. It's a female with a attached personal pronoun at the end of it here. Same thing over here. He and I, independent pronoun. Lo, I'm not. Echye. When a Jewish person or Hebrew scholar sees this word, it kind of lights up. because it is exactly the same word that you see in Exodus 3. Okay, I am who I am. I am. Okay, and tell people of Israel that I am is sending you. Okay, I am who I am. So in a sense, it's the same word, the same first person singular root for I am and I am, but it's very clearly she says I am not. So don't connect that to I am as in Jehovah. Connect this as just somebody who is. Okay, so but I'm not. Okay, I'm not a servant. Okay, so I'm supposed to be left out of this. I'm supposed to be outside of what's happening here. I'm supposed to be just an observer. I'm supposed to be it's really not really part of your grouping. Okay, this is what uh, Ruth is affirming, and that's something that Boaz obviously wants to change. Okay, and no, you are going to be part of our grouping, of our work group, of the family. Okay, so I am not as kehat, as one of shivatecha. So you just do the transliteration here. Shivatecha, shivatecha, techa. The only difference really in terms of consonants is the yod right over here. See, over here you got no yod here, and there's one here. Singular, plural. Okay, so that's a singular, and this one's a plural. And so that's what it is. Your servant and your servants, plural, right here. This yod makes a construct ending or plural out of this particular word here. So, shifotecha, your servants. Okay, I'm not part of, and these are female servants. Okay, shifotecha, shifatecha. Le'et ha'ochal, and at the time of the meal time, that is of eating, and this is ochel, to be eating, and incidentally, it's the same root. If you just take a quick look across the way here, ha'ochel, and then you have achalt, achalt. Okay, you have ha'ochel and halt. It's the same root. You have aleph, kaf, lamed, aleph, kaf, lamed. This one's the eating time. This looks ohel. That would be a participle working like a noun here. The eating time, meal time. And this is time right here. Et is the time. We've seen this one me'at, a small time. Okay, we've seen it also. We've seen it back in the sixth verse, sixth verse. Me'et, a small time. Now here you have it again for the time of the eating. Le'et ha'ochen, gozi, and that is come here, gozi, close up. You know, it's gozi means get cozy. And it's a little bit like the English. So get cozy, okay, gozi, hello towards here. The old English would say hither. Okay, we don't use the word hither anymore. Use the word here. Okay, so gozi, hello. Again, a small detail. Apparently, I think we've all seen it in on school playgrounds when you have people already forming the groups and you got other people sort of standing off to the edges. Apparently, was sort of what was happening there. You had the workers all together who knew each other, could talk to each other, known each other their whole lives, and there's Ruth, sort of off to one edge, and then so Boaz says, no, group up, come here, gather in, okay, we'll see. So cozy up. I didn't really realize before just that kind of alliteration also in English, okay, means come here, cozy up. Gozi, hello, come here. Achlat, and eat. Okay, this is time of eating, and this is the eat, and this is you eat. It's second person feminine here. It's a hortative. Okay, so eat up. Okay, ochlat. Ben ha lechem. Okay, from the bread. Bread lechem. Incidentally, it's a lechem is often very much a double segol. Okay, here's a segol, and a double segolate like that. It's going to have Miel an upside accenting. Okay, that's what this is right here. Min halechem, from the bread. Interesting thing. There's bread in a place that didn't used to have bread. Okay, now there is some. Could be from that recent harvest. There could have been some left over from the previous time, but we really don't know when. But the bread has been made from the grain that was been harvested at Beit Lechem, at house of the bread, house of food. So eat from the food, eat from the lechem, from the bread. Tavalt. Okay, tavalt. It's, you have the Shabbat at the end here, you have Shabbat here, and those are supposed to be silent Shabats, but if you're going to have just a tau as a consonant, all consonants do have sort of a vowel value to them. So the vowel value here to this thing, even though you're not going to pronounce the E, so you don't here. This is very much the way you're going to transcribe it. But the achlat and tabalt, the t will have a little bit of an S sound to the end of it, just a small one there. Okay, you got to have something when you're doing a consonant. A consonant always has somewhat of a touch of a vowel to it, just to give you, the sound of the consonant. Tachalat, minha lechem, tabalt, dip. Okay, put your here's you can use the root value or the root sense of the primitive. I don't like using the word primitive, but the whole matter of the paleographic sense of tet. Tet is a mark, okay, and then put the mark as to where you're going to dip that morsel of food. Okay, so mark it and dip it there, and lean over. Incidentally, the same word is yet, to lean over. Okay, so tabalta, dip it in. Okay, just point a spot, put the pitain, the morsel. Like I said, it sounds like pita bread, but just the piece, the small piece. Pitain, hamotz. Hamotz is vinegar, but also it really has a term, and you find it all over in when you start running a word search on this particular word. You'll find it in relationship to how you're going to be celebrating Passover. And during Passover, this hamotz is prohibited. It's out of here. You got to clean it out. You got to wash your vessels. You got to, just remove every scrap or every little bit of hamotz. In other words, so very much the little party that we're having here is not being held during Pesach, during Passover, being held afterwards when hamotz is allowed. Hamotz yeast is allowed. Okay, so put the piece of bread in the yeast sauce, in the vinegar, and it's this also. If you're looking up what it means, it's the thing that kind of okay. When you need bread, that's that you bake quickly and it will stay in a small loaf, just like a tortilla. You're not going to have hamotz, but if you're going to bake bread that has hamotz in it, the yeast is going to make it rise and give it a lot of flavor. When that yeast is converting the gluten stuff into it, and it converts it into alcohol, but the alcohol, of course, is getting cooked or baked in the bread. It gives a lot of flavor. So hamotz, in a sense, is a zest of life. Okay, here things are interesting. Put that piece of bread over here. Life is interesting. Life is good. Life has a lot of flavor to it. Okay, so lots of beautiful things here we're seeing in the details of these words here. So. And so she sat, tashev. Now I was looking at this. Almost all translations will take tashev to sit, okay, which means and the clear root then, of course, is yod shin bet. There's a possibility, and I checked around. Really, no translations will pick up on this, but there's a possibility that this could also be tashev. In other words, shov, and then she returned, and she came back, okay. She came back from the side of Hakoshrim. But here it's a very interesting picture. Apparently, Ruth was kind of standing off to one side, and then, okay, she invited over. She sat down on the side, to the side, mashad, Okay? Shad is to be beside something. And when you're hunting, when you're out being a hunter like Esau, you're sitting beside the bushes or sitting beside the road waiting for your prey, and so that's what a hunter does. Even the word Bethsaida, the house of the hunter, the house of the fisherman. Assad, who's a fisherman, is somebody who's sitting by the water with a hook or net or spear or something to catch fish, but he's on Mishad, he's onto the side of things. Okay, Shaddai Tamin derives from this same root. Okay, so there she is sitting beside the harvesters. Okay, she's sort of has sort of integrated herself to the grouping that's there, um, and so yeah, she's had an invitation to share in the bread, the lechem, and so she's starting to form part of the group. And so that's kind of an interesting movement here in the story. Now she's part of the group. She's joined up with the group. Mishad Hakotzrim, we've seen this one, the harvesters. We've seen this word. This is already 6th or 7th time in chapter 2 that we're seeing this one. The ones who harvest, the ones who gather the sheaves together and tie them up with a kof, okay, with a cord. And the kof here, symbolic of the cord that the harvesters use to tie together their grain. Okay, Hakotzrim. Ish bat, and then he handed over. Okay, he reached over. Shabbat is Sawat. Okay, we've seen the tet functioning in a previous occasion of her dipping in the morsel, and here we see the tet happening again, pointing towards her with this kali, kali. The roasted grain. Kali is just something that's been roasted over fire. And so he handed over to her, okay, yitzbat, lach, to her, kali, the roasted grain, and tohal, and then she ate, okay, she ate. We've seen tohal at the beginning of this passage here, because it was the et ohal, okay, the time of the eating. And now there's a feminine prefix form of, and then she ate, okay, the tau here's a feminine prefix, tohal, she ate, betashiv, and she was satisfied, feminine, and also tohar was left over. There's no, this tau here is not part of, it's not a prefix part of the root here. It's atwar, should actually have been yotar. It's the thing. Okay, and then it was left over. There was some left over. Okay, so a little bit of a reflexive sense of, yeah. Okay, what you have here is the root actually is yeter. Okay, to be left over. Yod tau resh. Yeter has been absorbed, and then it has been suffered. We call that elision or apheresis, and then in its place you have the tau here, and it was left over. So she ate, and then she was satisfied, and then it was something left over. So there's actually plenty to eat. Okay, so a sign of God's abundance, a sign of God's faithfulness through Boaz sharing food with Ruth, and symbolic to this is something that took place at the sight of everybody. Hopefully there weren't any envious looks or something. Oh man, she's getting extra portion or something, but most certainly very symbolic of God's abundance and God's sharing. Boaz was sharing abundantly. She had things left over, and she apparently would guard that away to take back to her mother-in-law, back to Naomi. And so, but it's very symbolic of the abundance that God has given to Boaz, and Boaz then shares with others. So, and this is in the sight of the Kotzrim. So something very much happening here, where Boaz is stating very clearly to all of his other workers, I want to be helpful, want to show my favor here. The other workers are starting to talk about how this, of course, probably also went back to the village or the town with all of this information. And from here on, Ruth continues working, gathers up a very good portion of grain, beats out the stalks so that she can just carry the grain in itself. She doesn't have to carry all the stalks back to the town. Beats out the grain, comes back, reports to Naomi, and Naomi says, "Oh wow, where did you find favor? He's a Goel, he's a redeemer." And so Naomi immediately gets into a legal stance and says, "Okay, time to define the legal sense of what's happening here." And then, so of course, prepares Ruth to go to the threshing floor in order to have an interview with Boaz and define the legal status of things there. So the Lord is gracious to us. The Lord provides. The Lord provides in abundance. We have things left over because these things do come from the Lord, and it's something we must learn from how we work with people, speak to the heart, be personable, be generous with people, truly love people, and reflect the love of God also to those around you, especially the strangers, especially those who are in need of special protection. So may God bless, and may God strengthen you in this day. And now we have the Hebrew reading of these two portions. Probably go through it quickly. I've done a lot of explaining already of what's there. Vatomer emasha chen be'enecha, and she said, this is a feminine prefix form of tomer, to speak, also as a accenting here. Vatomer ematsa, I have found favor, I am finding favor. Be'enecha, in your eyes, the eyes of Boaz. Adoni, my Lord, very much just a singular and a singular suffix ending here of my Lord. Ki, because. Nechamtani, because I have found, I've been comforted. Okay, Naham. Again, a Noah word here. Nunchet is to be comforted, as Noah, and then Mem to be comfort, to receive comfort. Tani, you have. So if you're going to break down the parsing here, if this is Naham is comfort, Ta, you, Ni, towards me. Okay, so Niham Tani, you comfort to me. Okay, so Niham Tani, Ki, and because, Dibarta, you have spoken. You have Tau comments here, Tau comments again. You have spoken, Al Lev, to the heart. Short form of heart here. The long form would be Lamed Bet Bet, but this one's Lamed Bet, to the heart. Shifachtecha, of your servant, of your maidservant. And it's a singular form. This is a singular. The plural one's over here. So this is your servant, Be'anochi, and I, not, and lo, I am not. Echye, I am not. I am not. I am. So same verbal form of the to be verb of haya. Okay, haya would be the root here. Hey, yod, hey, haya, and then you put it first person here with aleph here, which makes it I am. Okay, same one that we find in Exodus 3 of the Lord saying, Ehye asher ehye. The ehye is sending you. Okay, so I am. Very, very clear here. She is stating, I'm not. Okay, so very much a contrast. Okay, Ehye as the Lord is really a big thing, and Ehye as a person, no, we don't count. So it's quite a contrast here as to which direction this Ehye is going here. So Ehye, I'm not. Ke'asher, ke'ahad, as one. Okay, as a one. It's a singular one. As one. Shifatecha, as one of your maidservants. Okay, this the plural here of the yod. Incidentally, if you're looking at the kares, that is the substitute readings, it's quite often to introduce or remove. And in fact, we're getting into the third chapter. We're going to see a lot of kares in the third chapter, and it's going to be either adding or subtracting this particular yod. Many cases, some cases, most cases just adding it in. When there's a singular, the tendency of the kares to add a yod into it to make it plural. So, but here it is a plural. Okay, shifatecha, your maidservants of yours, okay, to you. Vayomer lach, and he said to her, Boaz, this is the subject here then, Boaz said to her, Yomer lach Boaz, le'et, at the time of ha'ochel, of the eating time, the lunch time, the meal time, okay? Ochel is to eat. Here we have it as to eat, ochel, eating, and here is achalta, and you can eat then. So this second person feminine ending of this ahal, same root here, okay? Aleph kaf lamed, aleph kaf lamed, and there's a common scissor holem here. Often you do have a holem sound with this verb, but as you can see here, sometimes it is the ah sound. Achalt is it's kind of tough because this particular Shabbat officially just closes a syllable, okay? But then how you pronounce this next syllable, you basically have to align those two consonants together. There's somewhat of a vocalic value to the end of this one. Ahalt. You can never really say consonant without a vowel, but here you can make a close attempt to it, okay? Ahalt. Min ha-lechem, from the bread, okay? Lechem here is bread. It's very much a segole, two segoles, and then accenting up towards the Miel accenting of this one. Lechem here, it's a very interesting thing because they're sitting near the town of Bet Lechem, house of bread. And so it's interesting to see the Lord has been good. He's provided lechem, he's provided bread to these people. And very nice to see that these people are willing to share the bread also. Boaz is willing to share the bread with the stranger that has come under the care of his wings. Okay, kanaf. Tablat, and she dipped pita, and dip pita, a portion, a piece. Okay, pita, dip a portion. Bahomatz, into the yeast. Hamatz. This when you look it up, the other uses of this particular word used all over the place. To you have, these are the things. This is what you have to clean up when you're celebrating Pesach, Passover. No hamatz allowed. Very obviously outside of the time of Pesach, and so hamatz is very much part of the scene, and it's symbolic of the zest of life, of giving flavor to life, of wow, great things going here with hamotz. Okay, but hamotz, incidentally, in defining what's clean or unclean, or what's acceptable, what's unacceptable, as people, you have people who are ceremonial clean, okay, will be acceptable to the Lord. In a sense, she's also hamotz. In other words, she's a foreigner. She's a Moabite. Even up to the time of Ezra and Nehemiah, wow, she would still be considered not acceptable into the temple courts and into the city of Jerusalem and so forth. But here, yeah, very much hamotz is a very acceptable thing here. Hamotz tashev, and she sat. This also can be understood as shav, to shuv, to return. Then she returned, or she came back from the side of the kotzrim, mishad hakotzrim. This is the somebody who sits beside something, is somebody there who's apparently hunting something. Okay, so mishad, from the side of the kotzrim, va yitzabat lach, and he extended then the tet right here. Just take it as a pointer, a mark. I think making a mark. Okay, so it makes a mark there, points his hand over. Okay, yitzab, yitzbat, lach, to her. Okay, onto her. Kali, this is a roasted grain. Okay, something that's been heated over fire. Tohal, and she ate. Tashba, and she was satisfied. Feminine, and tohar, and tohtar. And it was left over, and so there's even something left over. There's so much that she really wasn't able to eat all of it. She was able to keep some of it, probably saved it for her mother-in-law, and so yeah, there was a terrifically nice generosity on the part of Boaz here at the time of lunch. Very obviously that Boaz has established a relationship through food, and all the other people sitting there, all of the, it's now become public, okay, Kosrim. All of the workers see this. They're going to go back to the village. They're going to talk about it. It's going to become part of public knowledge. And so, but what happens here is Ruth continues working. Boaz continues to give some instructions to his workers about, okay, allow her to work, pull out some stuff from your sheaves. Don't touch her, don't bother her, don't make her feel ashamed. And so Ruth continues working for the rest of the day, gathers up a whole lot of grain, returns to Naomi, explains to Naomi what has happened, and Naomi then defines the whole relationship of a redeemer, the Goel. This person has now, we have to ask of him the legal rights of a marriage that will result in restoring the name of those who have died, restoring the inheritance, restoring things back to the way the Lord had originally planned it. So yeah, so the whole story moves forward. It's very interesting to read all of these little things here. It takes a little bit of work to look up what all the little words mean, but a lot of the little words all coming together bring us a very beautiful story. So, and often our life is that way. It's in the details. When the details are done correctly, things move forward and things move into the blessing of the Lord. So may God bless you and may God strengthen you in this day. Until the next time.